Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you all. This is your host, Amina Ahmed, and you're watching Muslim Network TV. Welcome back to another episode of NextGen. On today's discussion about the situation in Kashmir, the lockdown, the political lockdown, as well as the impact of COVID-19 and the lockdown that followed that. We're there on Galaxy 19 satellite, MuslimNetwork.tv, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and soon on Apple TV as well. Now, previously on Next Gen, we did speak about the crisis in Kashmir, the causes, and the role of the diaspora in advocating for those who are vulnerable in Kashmir. But today's discussion is a bit different. It's on the impact of lockdown and the environment of Kashmir, as well as young people in Kashmir, and whether a future of democracy, freedom, and self-determination is possible for Kashmiris. And to discuss this today, we have with us Waheed Rehaman, who is a youth and democracy promoter in conflict-torn region in Kashmir. He's working towards a positive change with concern about human dignity. He has done immense work for the promotion of democratization of dissent and inclusion of youth in decision-making in Kashmir. Absolutely an honor to have you with us today, Waheed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amina. Thank you. It's an honor to be part of your initiative.
And Waheed, I just want to acknowledge the work that you do. And before we do that, I think our audience should know that because of you speaking up against the BJP, because of you speaking about the abrogation of the autonomous status of Kashmir, you were detained, right? It's been over a year. You're under house arrest, and this is your situation. Tell us more about your story.
Well, as you know, 2019, 5th of August, when the government of India took this decision of, diluting the special status of state of Jammu and Kashmir, and we came out on that day, and we spoke about the decision that was taken, unilateral decision taken by the government of India, and we took a position which was not in favor of the government. And the last time I spoke was 5th of August, and I was detained on the same day. After 1 hour, I spoke on the NDTV, the national TV channel of India. So we were detained for 6 months. We put in a MLA hostel with other political leaders there, and a lot of leaders were detained all over the country. Kashmir region, and all mainstream leaders, especially political leaders, young activists, democratic players. Everybody was detained. It was a situation which was very unprecedented in many ways politically. So we were detained for 6 months in a detention center. Then we were shifted to house arrest. So I continue to remain under house arrest. I mean, there are thousands of people who were initially detained, and now most of them were then released, and now some of them continue to remain under detention, including the top political leaders, the three former chief ministers were detained, our party president, who happens to be the first and last lady chief minister, woman chief minister of this state, Mahbooba Mufti. She was also detained, and she continues to remain under infamous Public Safety Act. So it has been a very tough time for all of us politically, and also emotionally. It has done a huge damage to the psyche of people in Kashmir, because amid COVID, you're facing such a political clampdown. There's a lot of anxiety among the people here because of the COVID restrictions, but then you face a political lockdown from last 1 year. So there's huge absence of democratic space, huge absence of political space, and this is happening at a time, when people are gripped with fear, gripped with insecurities. There are social issues happening, there are political issues happening, there are economic crises happening at a place when Kashmir has been in turmoil, in conflict for years. And then you have a huge young population. 70% of the young population of this place is youth. So the education is getting affected. From last 1 year, our schools have been under the big schools are closed, education institutions are not working. So because of the lockdown, double lockdown which is going on, it is not just one that political part is affected, but education is getting affected. Then you had a huge internet blockade, the longest internet blockade in this region. So the internet speed is 2G. Today when I'm talking to you when my internet speed is limited to 2G. So this creates a lot of problems when we say we live in 21st century. It's an information society, and in the times of this whole crisis in the world, where social distancing is being adopted as a way of life, when you're facing challenges like the traditional conventional institutions are not working, education is suffering. So we have a 2G internet space, and this is the only place in the world where the fast speed internet was deprived because of political reasons. So all these things are affecting to the people of Kashmir. I mean, there have been large scale detentions, arrests, limited rights, and huge challenges on the people of Kashmir because of the political reasons. So there are, I mean, we're not just us. I mean, all of us are actually in a very difficult situation, and people are suffering at all levels.
Now, you tell us about how the situation was unprecedented, but did you or any of those other people who were detained, when you were speaking up, did you anticipate any of this? Did you anticipate that this would be the response?
I think, we live in a democratic country, and we actually thought. I mean, there's a huge democratic space in this country. Constitutional guarantees given to the Jammu and Kashmir, and we always believed, that to every dissent, the space lies in democracy. So we have a right to protest in a democracy. We have a right to dissent in a democracy. But what is being changing in this country, which is not just confined to Kashmir, but to the rest of parts of the India as well, when you see NRC, CAA, what's happening with regard to NPR, all those, when the young people were trying to come out, or especially the Muslim women were trying to come out and talk or raise objections on some of the issues which were being enforced in different parts of the country. So, so you saw that space was getting choked. So dissent was criminalized. Cases were being framed on the young people, especially, and the people who are the students who are trying to resist to the government legislations. So I think it didn't remain confined to parts in I mean Kashmir, but also in the rest of the country as well. So I think it was a very tough time. It was unprecedented because the large scale lockdown was unprecedented. We did not expect. We thought, I mean, there is a space to protest, and we can register our protest, we can register our dissent, and we can also register our disagreement. So in a democratic form, we do not want it to be violent or create any sort of chaos. We never wanted to, you know, provoke people. But the whole idea of coming out, talking, or objecting to the government orders was just to register a protest, and a democratic protest, and a very peaceful protest, where you say, no, we disagree with your decisions, and we just wanted this to be done in a different way, or we just do not agree with the decisions you are going to take. So it is, our future is being shaped with the legislations, with the laws, with the orders you're passing. So it's about our future. It's about our generation. It's about the generation which our coming generation, which is going to be impacted by these decisions. So all these decisions have a very, have a huge futuristic impacts on our on our young people. So we definitely have a reason to register our dissent, to register our difference and protest against all these decisions which are being taken to shape our future. So I think that is that space was missing, and that space was not just choked but also sometimes criminalized. There were cases not just against politicians, against mainstream leaders, the people who were talking, but activists, democratic activists, civil society activists, lawyers. Sometimes also the journalists were not, given a space that they deserved to work in, or they needed internet service, they needed to write freely. And then you saw cases against a number of journalists happening and being lodged. Some of the journalists, female journalists, were lodged under a very infamous law. Then two of our journalists were booked under the same law, which are very serious laws against journalists, which was never happened before. So yeah, I think it was unprecedented in the situation. The way government wanted to deal with the protests, or wanted control over the situation, that they did not allowed a difference of opinions to actually evolve.
And what has the impact of all of this been on young people, particularly, especially the political lockdown that we were seeing in this lockdown due to COVID-19? I'm sure that it's impacted young people. Like you said, 70% of the region is youth in Kashmir. Tell us about that.
I think it hugely impacted the psyche of young people. When young kids, I mean, kids below 18, I mean, which is a huge 46% of our population, and the 75 total is below 35. So it's a young population who wanted to move out, who wanted to hang out, who wanted their normal school, who want normalcy, who want education, who want to go to fields and grounds. So you deprive them. Suddenly you say, no, you do not move out because there is shutdown, there's curfew, or there's a lockdown. So people don't understand. Young people do not want to be controlled. There is a sense of being young, and that's youngness means to be challenging every sort of restriction and every sort of lockdown that you try to place upon the youth. So I think that's where the young people in Kashmir react differently. Then when sometimes you see that you see a lot of violence happening, also because when you deprive a democratic space or a young space that young people actually deserve to be in. So this lockdown has a huge impact on the youth of Kashmir. It has always had impact the youth mostly because it affects the youth psyche. It affects the young people in the way they look at situations. They want a free space. They see internet all over the world. They see people, young people moving around, smiling. They see happiness. They see them chilling out. They see them hanging out. They see them working. The way young people operate all over the world, and then suddenly they find themselves in a confined situation, in a cage-like situation. The sense of unfreedom is huge among the young people when they feel like there are restrictions, and these restrictions are sometimes covert, sometimes overt, but you can sense that something is wrong in this place when you're put. Even when we talk to the kids in our home and realize that they understand there is politics going on. They understand this 1 year of holiday. I mean, the 1 year of closure of schools. What does it mean? What is a hartal? What is curfew? What is shutdown? They understand there is education going on. Even if government wants to change the schools curriculums, want to change the history, want to change a lot of things, for political reasons. But youth actually is understanding that there's a larger school outside the school, and that
Mm.
political school, which is in your, in your curfew days, in your hartal days, in your shutdown days, whatever may be the reason uh, for a shutdown or the closure of a school or a closure of the normal see for the kids. I think they understand there's something is wrong, and we're not interacting with our classmates, we're not meeting our friends, we're not interacting with our teachers, we're not interacting with our routine life. And that absence of those normal things is what the youth of Kashmir completely understand. And that's what has transferred this politics from one generation to another generation. And that's what actually we see. These kids are so smart to understand the politics of Kashmir, even if they're too young, too, juvenile to understand, too
Mm.
innocent to understand what's going on. But they know it. They know it because it's being happening around them, and it's impacting them, it's impacting their movement, it's impacting their education, it's impacting their basics, very, even if going to a play field, it's impacting their interaction with their own friends in the class. So they understand this unfreedom, this absence of space, why they're not able to meet their classmates, their friends, their teachers, and how politics, the political thing is become a very personal thing for kids. So this personal distraction in their normal life has a political meaning, and all of us understand. We may not be able to articulate it in a lot of situations. We do not know how to say that, but we definitely understand where it's coming from.
I think that's very powerful. The fact that even young kids are aware of the situation that's going on in Kashmir, and we'll be speaking more about that situation right after our short break. You're watching us on Apple TV, Roku, Galaxy 19 satellite, Amazon Fire TV, and we'll be right back.
My wife, who she's a professor at the University of Cincinnati, who's Catholic, and by her watching and listening to our 3-year-old son watch Adam's World, she ended up taking Kalima Shahada. She embraced Islam because she learned so much about Islam and the other prophets. It really affected our life in a great way, and because of Sound Vision and Adam's World, we're Muslims.
I took my Shahada 15 years ago, and I actually am from a rural part of Ohio. And so I found the catalog for Sound Vision, and I ordered the tapes and the CDs and the books, and I used those, and especially for my little daughter, that's how we basically learned our Islam, and Islam entered our hearts through the wonderful works of Sound Vision.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, brother. I just want you to know that I love the Sound Vision website, that a lot of times when I'm looking for information, especially as it relates to homelessness, domestic violence, and women issues, I go to that website, and then I see what you've written, and then I copy and paste it and spread the word, because the wisdom is there. So I can't do any better than what Sound Vision has already done.
Sound Vision is our survival guide. It is the organization that provides skills for Muslims how to survive and thrive in this community here in the US.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Anam, I'm in 11th grade, and I grew up with Adam's World, and what it taught me was unity, respect, and love for the Muslim Ummah.
Adam's World is the greatest show ever made. Take me to the Kaaba, man. I love that puppet.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's your brother Zain Bika from South Africa. One of the first educational programs ever produced for Muslim children was the ever popular Adam's World series. The colorful and comical Muslim puppets stole the heart of a generation. Sound Vision will be releasing brand new episodes of Adam's World with the launch of a Adam's World app. Subscribers will enjoy new Adam's World episodes as they are released, as well as all the classic episodes of Adam's World. So visit adamsworldapp.com now to learn more, subscribe, and enjoy new adventures of Adam and his friends. And let's keep helping tomorrow's Muslims today. Assalamu alaikum.
Adam's World. Believe me, there's a lot to see. Bismillah. Let's explore.
Welcome back to NextGen. I'm here with Waheed Rehaman, who is a youth and democracy promoter in Kashmir. You were detained for 6 months and then under house arrest. How have you been able to continue the work that you're doing even in that situation, right? I know that you're advocating currently. How? That's just my question.
I think it's been definitely it's difficult to see detentions and to be in a restrictive space and then be under constant vigil of the administration and also surveillance sometimes. But being in detention itself is part of your larger politics. So when you're inside meeting people, interacting with people, that was one part of it. And we were all of us together, and it created a different atmosphere, bonhomie within ourselves. We interacted with the people we never talked within the detention center. And when we were shifted to a place like at our homes, when we were put under house arrest, so we started working. I mean, it was COVID, and we started doing a lot of these awareness programs, spending a lot of time on social media, even if the internet speed was slow. But we used to interact with our people. We do Zoom meetings, we do interaction meetings, and we read a lot. I mean, share the stuff on the internet, which is coming about, awareing people about things that's going on around us and with us. Also talking about the issues which are not just political, socially important, because since there's COVID as a new challenge, as a humanitarian challenge across the world, and such a humanitarian challenge, that situation which we faced in, which was like, the lockdown, which was very common for us. The entire world was facing a huge humanitarian lockdown. I think such situations should create awareness about things, that everywhere where humanitarian crises are going on, humans are suffering, how it impacts the people, not just politically, economically, socially, emotionally, how much, the COVID lockdown has impacted the psyche of people. There are a lot of stories coming out all over the world. People are depressed, people are feeling choked, people are feeling restless by staying in their homes. And these are situations not new. These are situations which are going in the many parts of the world. We do not know about it just because those situations are political, and this situation is slightly different. It's a pandemic we are confronting, but pain, anxiety is always same across the world. So we used to share a lot of stuff, talk about the stuff. We used to share even the stuff which was about uh, COVID also, how to help. We used to share information and used to help each other through internet, sharing the stuff which was important to the people, not just our own friends, but also the larger, community within community. And there's a lot of work you can actually do by staying from home. And Kashmir, since it's a place which, understands the importance of working from home, not just online, but there are different ways we work from home, being a place which is geographically isolated also. So there's a lot of stuff. We've been interacting with people, talking to them, and helping also wherever it is required. But there is a conversation going on. There's politics going on, even if it's at a very it's a difficult level. It's a very unprecedented situation. We never faced such a situation before, but we're also learning out of it, how to come out of this situation and how to deal this in a much better way.
Now, Waheed, what key changes do you and the mass majority of the Kashmiri population would like to see implemented, in Kashmir?
I think one of the biggest important challenge that we are facing is right now is that there is silence here, a lot of silence, which is engineered, and people need space to talk, the space to disagree, the space to dissent, and there people need to break this cycle of silence, even if it's because of fear, even if because of restriction or because of enforced laws. But people need to talk, and the conversation is important for any community, for any political entity of any nation or the people. You can't silence the life. So the conversation, uh, which is missing in Kashmir, is the first thing that should begin, that should take off, where people start talking and questioning, and debating and discussing and disagreeing with it, even if whatever can be the cost of it. But we need to break the silence. That's the first thing. And then there's a restoration of civil liberties immediately. That you feel containment of civil liberties, then the respect of human rights, then the absence of this democratic space, which is missing totally in this part of region. So those rights, those things should come back. And then the larger political rights, which the people are talking about, the restoration of the special status, the restoration of the constitutional guarantees, the restoration of the constitutional space. So all those things are very important to address the anxiety, to address the fears of the people of Kashmir, to address the concerns of the people of Kashmir. The concerns are very genuine because people feel insecure that things are happening to us without our consent. So nothing should happen without the consent of people in wherever there is a democratic pattern of government, even if it's not democratic. But the whole point is taking the people's consent on board. So that's what we are actually waiting for eagerly, and that is the conversation we are trying to build here.
I think it really is interesting that there's so much conversation on Kashmiris, and it's not happening by Kashmiris, right? So many laws and regulations made on Kashmiris without their consent, like you said. But do you think that a future of freedom and democracy and self-determination is all possible for Kashmiris? Do we see that?
I think it's important to understand, Kashmir is definitely going through a very unique situation as of now. So what matters to the people is that this sense of siege, this sense of unfreedom, this sense of restriction needs to end. It is not permanent. It's not sustainable. We have seen challenging times in Kashmir before 5th of August as well. We have seen worse times in 90s. We have seen worst times in 1987, when there was a complete collapse of democratic breakdown, and also and complete collapse of democratic process. But Kashmir's resilience, it has got tested time and again. It has evolved better. It has shaped better. The people have never given up. So there is a huge space, and our resilience is definitely under challenging times, our testing time. But we will emerge stronger. Kashmir will rise again. And what is important is that the democratic space should be given to the people of Kashmir, where they can, actually shape their ideas and shape their future as well. And that is the space which we deserve, and that's a constitutional guarantee that should be given to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, where they can actually think for their future and decide how to, create a vibrant democracy where they feel like we are part of a conversation which is in our control and which is for us, where decisions are being taken by us and not by others, where we are participatory in every decision, and it is a very inclusive environment where you do not feel that one section of the society is being patronized and another section of the society is being isolated. So we don't want anything which antagonizes, even if it's a minority, even if it's about Kashmiri Pandits. They're a very important stakeholder of this society. They should be part of our conversation. They should be part of our dreams and decisions. So I think that's important, even if it's a region like Ladakh or a region like Jammu, which has not been in the narrative for a lot of times. But we want that conversation to be like, which is trans religion, which is trans region, and where people feel we are stakeholders to a conversation. People feel we are part of solution, and people feel that that everything is participatory. It's inclusive dialogue, where people do not feel like we are being left out, and one community is being talked at the cost of another community, or one region is being given importance at the cost of another region. We are not in favor of such a situation. We've seen worst for all these years, and we do not want another region to face worse because of us. I think we understand the complexities of this region, but at the same time, we feel like the whole this lockdown situation is not sustainable. We do not support such a situation where people are felt, given continuously the sense of defeat, where people are being choked or being pushed to wall, where they are forced to do violence or forced to do such things. They feel helpless, hopeless. This hopelessness has to end, and Kashmir needs hope. That hope in itself will create solutions for all of us.
Thank you so much, Waheed, for coming on our show and for telling us about your story and the situation of so many like you. Thank you so much to our audience for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. Assalamu alaikum. Peace
Thank you.
be upon you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.